Welcome to this immersive explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the absolute most staggering ecosystem on our planet. We're going to strip away all the myths and get right down to the terrifying beauty, the unbelievable scale, and yeah, the literal hidden monsters of the Amazon rainforest. Let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a pretty wild modern mystery. Back in February 2021, NASA dropped these satellite images from the International Space Station, and they seriously looked like literal rivers of glowing gold flowing right through South America. I mean, the internet absolutely lost its mind. People honestly thought we'd finally found El Dorado. But, well, the reality behind those glowing images, it's heartbreaking, and it is definitely not magical. Those aren't rivers of gold at all. We are actually looking at are toxic mud pits dug by roughly 30,000 illegal miners. They're carving out these massive holes just hoping to find tiny, tiny traces of gold. But mostly, they just fill up with dirty, stagnant water. And because the sun hit them at the exact right angle when the satellite flew over, they reflected the light and shine like gold. It's a stark, really brutal visual reminder of how human activity is completely scarring this landscape. To really grasp what's at stake here, we need to zoom way out and look at the macro scale of the Amazon, what we often call the lungs of the Earth. 5.5 million. That is the total area of the rainforest in square kilometers. To put that completely mind-boggling number into perspective, you could fit 7 entire Pakistans inside of it. It's just this endless expanse of green that's honestly almost impossible to wrap your head around. And it's not just contained within one border. The Amazon stretches across 9 different South American countries, places like Colombia, Peru, and Venezuela. But as this breakdown shows, a massive 60% of this unbelievable biome sits squarely inside Brazil. Now, here is why this matters to you, right at this very second. As you sit there and take a breath, 20% of the very oxygen we are breathing is produced by this single spectacular forest. It literally breathes for the planet, soaking up our carbon dioxide and pumping out the life-giving air that every single one of us relies on to survive. How does it do that? Through a staggering 300 billion trees. We're talking 16,000 different tree species packed together so tightly that even in the middle of a bright sunny day, it looks like pitch black night down on the forest floor. The canopy is so ridiculously thick that if a rainstorm hits, a single drop of water can take a full 10 minutes just to bounce through all those leaves and finally hit the ground. When you look at the raw numbers, the biodiversity here is just explosive. We're talking 40,000 plant species, an absolutely insane 2.5 million insect species, and hundreds upon hundreds of mammals, birds, and fish. The sheer volume of life is so intense that, get this, a brand new plant or animal species is discovered here every 3 days. Every 3 days! And scientists think there's a massive chunk of life out there that we haven't even identified yet. All right, let's descend from that dense canopy down into the shadows of the forest floor, where the wildlife gets totally bizarre and honestly pretty terrifying. Go ahead and meet your new nightmare. This lovely creature is the Goliath bird eater, officially the world's largest tarantula. It rocks a 12-inch leg span, literally the size of a dinner plate. It weighs a hefty 175 grams, and unlike your typical house spider that just creeps around quietly, this giant actually hisses at you to scare off predators. Now, its venom won't outright kill a human, but a bite? Oh, that's gonna leave you sweating, nauseous, and in some serious, agonizing pain. Looking up for a second, let's talk about the Amazon's apex bird, the harpy eagle. To really get a sense of its scale, just look at its weapons. It has talons that measure 5 inches long. That actually makes them bigger than the claws of a fully grown grizzly bear. This eagle is massive, boasting a wingspan of up to 6.5 feet, and it uses those lethal talons to just snatch monkeys and sloths right out of the trees. Unbelievable. But listen, danger in the jungle doesn't always come in an extra-large package. Do not let those vibrant, beautiful colors fool you. The golden poison dart frog is one of the most lethal creatures on land anywhere. It actually absorbs deadly toxins from the bugs it eats. A single tiny frog, like fits on your thumb tiny, holds enough poison on its skin to kill 10 grown humans or 20,000 mice in just a few minutes by triggering rapid heart failure. Meanwhile, slithering completely silently through the undergrowth is the green anaconda. This is the world's heaviest reptile. These things can grow up to 30 feet long and weigh 250 kilograms. And you know what? It doesn't even need venom. It's all muscle. It just wraps itself around giant prey. We're talking wild pigs, jaguars, even crocodiles, crushes their bones so they can't breathe, and then, yeah, just swallows them completely whole. It's not all just brute force and lethal venom, though. Surviving in the Amazon pushes evolution to some seriously wild extremes. Take the glass frog. Its skin is so transparent you can literally watch its tiny heart beating inside its chest. Then you've got the basilisk lizard, which has these specially adapted feet that create little air bubbles so it can actually sprint straight across the surface of the water. Oh, and my personal favorite, the peanut head bug. It tries to scare off predators with big fake eye spots, and if that doesn't work, it unleashes this absolutely horrible, stinky spray. Okay, let's cool off, or maybe not, and plunge into the aquatic realm. The rivers here hold secrets that even scientists still struggle to fully explain. For example, imagine a river so unbelievably hot that you could legitimately cook your dinner right in the water. Deep in the jungle, there's a mysterious 6.5-kilometer stretch of river that just boils constantly, between 90 and 100 degrees Celsius. Usually, you only find boiling rivers right next to active volcanoes, right? But inexplicably, there is zero volcanic activity within 700 kilometers of this spot. It is a total geographic anomaly. And then, of course, there's the main artery itself, the mighty 6,500-kilometer Amazon River. This massive waterway pushes out a staggering 219,000 cubic meters of water every single second. Just to give you an idea of how much water that is, that exact amount perfectly equals the flow of the world's next 5 largest rivers combined. The sheer volume of water moving through this basin is completely unmatched anywhere else on Earth. Lurking in those murky waters is the electric eel. 860. That is the massive voltage of the electric shock this fish can deliver when it's hunting or feeling threatened. To put that terrifying number into perspective, an 860-volt shock is powerful enough to stop a massive crocodile dead in its tracks, instantly. But speaking of crocodiles, let's do a quick comparison. Our meager human jaw strength sits at about 162 psi. Now compare that to the monstrous black caiman, which boasts an apocalyptic bite force of 6,000 psi. We're talking about a 20-foot aquatic giant, literally as long as a 2-story house is tall, that uses its 70-plus teeth to crush and drag massive prey, even jaguars, right down to a watery grave. As if the rivers weren't already intense enough, here is something that totally defies biological logic. The oceanic bull shark swims hundreds of miles deep into these fresh waters. Scientists are still scratching their heads over exactly how they survive so far from the salty ocean, but they do. They patrol the Amazon with over 350 teeth, give live birth right there in the river, and occasionally they even become prey themselves to those giant black caimans we just talked about. It's a brittle ecosystem. Finally, we need to emerge from the deep jungle to face the most dominant and, honestly, the most destructive species living in this fragile ecosystem: us. See, the Amazon is far from empty. Among the roughly 30 million people living here are 350 distinct indigenous tribes. Amazingly, even now in the 21st century, some of these are ancient, completely uncontacted tribes who have literally never interacted with the outside world. They view nature as divine, they worship the forest, and they survive solely by hunting with traditional arrows and gathering native herbs. They exist in this pure, sustainable harmony with their environment. But in stark contrast to that beautiful harmony, there's modern human greed. Driven by illegal mining, relentless logging, and clearing land for agriculture, we have completely destroyed a tragic 20% of this vital jungle. And that's just in the last 50 years. We are rapidly tearing down the exact same ecosystem that is quite literally sustaining the entire globe. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. If the lungs of our Earth collapse entirely due to our own greed, what exactly happens to humanity? We are systematically dismantling the engine that provides 20% of our planet's oxygen, the very machine that keeps our world breathing. So, what happens to us when it finally stops? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering and keep learning.